If you have a message on your phone right now and you don't know what to reply, don't close this video. Because today I'm going to teach you 3 types of messages that could completely change your life. And I'm not just talking theory. I'm going to tell you about Sarah's story, a 47-year-old woman whose life changed 180 degrees after applying these rules. You know what? Last week, a 52-year-old woman contacted me. Let's call her Linda. She told me this. I'm a smart woman. I can stand on my own 2 feet. But when it comes to men, I act like a piece of my brain is missing. Why do I do this? And this isn't just Linda's problem. If you also reply immediately when messages come, think for hours wondering, what does this mean? Feel like men don't take you seriously. This video is exactly for you. In this 15-minute video, I'm going to teach you. White heavy check mark the 3 secret message tactics that manipulative men use. White heavy check mark why you should never reply to these messages with scientific proof. White heavy check mark Linda's story, how she changed her life in 6 months. Marca de verificación gruesa blanca how to radiate ik value woman energy. White heavy check mark what happens when you apply these tactics. Real results. But attention! If you don't watch this video to the end, tomorrow you might fall into the same traps again. So hit that like button right now so you don't forget, and let's begin. Sección 1. First message type. The first type of message you should never reply to is so common that you probably received one this week. These are messages like, hey, hi, what's up, how are you? Messages that seem completely normal, even polite. But here's what's really happening when you receive this type of communication. Let me paint you a picture. It's 9 p.m. on a Friday night. He's at home, bored, maybe feeling a little lonely. He opens his contact list and sends, hey, to 5 different women. Then he sits back and waits. The first one who responds enthusiastically automatically becomes his entertainment for the night. The others remain as plan B, C, D, and E for future occasions. When a woman immediately responds with something like, what a surprise! How are you? You finally appeared. She's showing that she's available, that she has nothing better to do, and that he doesn't need to put much effort into getting her attention. At that moment, without realizing it, she has just reduced her own perceived value. But here's the deeper problem. A woman who has worked on herself, who has learned to value herself after difficult experiences, who has built a fulfilling life regardless of whether she has a partner or not, that woman is not available 24/7 to respond to empty messages. She has things to do, projects to work on, a life to live. Let me explain something you may never have considered before. When you immediately respond to a generic hello, you're sending a very clear subliminal message. I have nothing important in my life that prevents me from being instantly available to you. And believe me, men register this information, consciously or unconsciously. The difference between a woman who immediately responds to these hooks and a woman who has developed her self-esteem is that the second understands that her attention has value. She won't give it away in exchange for communication crumbs. If someone wants to talk to her, they need to make a real effort, start a conversation with substance, show genuine interest. But here's what a woman with life experience learns. Quality men, those who are really worth it, don't send generic messages. They write something specific, something that shows they've thought about you as an individual person, not as one option among many. For example, a genuinely interested man will write something like, hi Maria, I was thinking about that conversation we had about books last week and wanted to recommend one I think you'll love. Or, good morning, I saw this news about that project you told me about and it reminded me of you. That's communication with purpose, with effort, with real interest. What's the fundamental difference? In the first case, he's testing your availability. In the second, he's demonstrating that he thinks about you specifically, that he remembers details from your conversations, that he has something valuable to share with you. Now I know you might be thinking, but it's just politeness to respond when someone greets me. And you're right, politeness is important. But here's the crucial difference that changes everything. A man who is genuinely interested in you as a person, not as one option among many, is not going to write just "hello" and expect you to do all the work of starting the conversation. So what do you do when you receive one of these generic messages? The most effective strategy is simply to leave it on read. Don't respond. And if he insists, if he writes to you again asking why you didn't respond, then you can answer something like, "You didn't tell me anything specific. I was busy with my things." This response is perfect because it's honest, direct, and teaches him that if he wants your attention, he's going to have to work harder. He's going to have to think about what he wants to tell you. He's going to have to show real interest. And believe me, a man who is really worth it will understand the message and will improve his communication. Those who aren't worth it will disappear, and that's exactly what we want to happen. Now, before I tell you about the second type of message, I want you to think about something. How many times have you received a message like this? How many times have you immediately responded? Comment below and tell me, have you ever received these "hey" messages? Because I want to know if you're recognizing yourself in this story. And if you're finding this valuable so far, make sure to subscribe because what I'm about to tell you about the second message type is even more shocking. It's something that even the smartest, most experienced women fall for. Actually, let me tell you about Linda's story. Remember the 52-year-old woman I mentioned at the beginning? She was doing exactly this, responding to every "hey" message immediately. And you know what happened? She was attracting the same type of men over and over again. Men who saw her as convenient, not as a priority. But when she started applying what I'm teaching you today, everything changed. And by the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly what happened to her. Sección 2. Second mensaje type. The second type of message you should never respond to is even more manipulative, and unfortunately, it's very common among men with narcissistic tendencies. These are sudden breakup messages. "We're done. It's better if we stop seeing each other. This isn't working." When you receive a message like this, especially if it comes out of nowhere, after things seem to be going well, your first reaction might be shock, confusion, wanting to understand what happened. And that emotional reaction is exactly what he's looking for. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. I met a 45-year-old woman, divorced with 2 teenage children. She had been dating a man for 3 months. Things were going well, they had deep conversations, they had made plans for the future, they had even talked about introducing each other to their families. On a Tuesday afternoon, out of nowhere, he sent her a message. "I've been thinking, and I think it's better if we don't see each other anymore. This isn't going to work." That's it. No explanation, no prior conversation, no signs that anything was wrong. This woman, who was intelligent, successful in her career, financially independent, went into total panic. She stayed awake all night wondering what she had done wrong. She wrote him messages asking if they could talk, if there was something she could change, begging him to reconsider. You know what happened next. He came back 3 days later saying he had been confused, that he didn't know why he had said that he couldn't live without her. And she, so relieved that he had returned, didn't question anything. She accepted his apologies and they continued as if nothing had happened. But here's what had really happened. This wasn't a breakup. It was an emotional test. He wasn't really ending things with her. He was evaluating how emotionally dependent she was on him. He wanted to see if she would panic, if she would beg him to reconsider, if she would bombard him with messages asking what she had done wrong. And when she reacted exactly as he expected, he obtained very valuable information. He could emotionally manipulate her whenever he wanted. He could threaten to leave and she would do anything to prevent it. He had found her weak point and now knew exactly how to use it. A woman who has lived enough, who has gone through real breakups, knows one fundamental thing. A man of value never ends a relationship through a text message. If he had really decided that things weren't working, he would have the decency to talk about it face to face, to explain his reasons, to close things maturely. When someone sends you a breakup message out of nowhere, especially if you've been dating, if you've had intimacy, if you've shared significant moments, he's not being honest with you. He's playing a very dangerous psychological game. And you know what happens when a woman falls into this trap? When she responds desperately, when she asks, "But what happened? Did I do something wrong? Can we talk?" She's giving him exactly what he wanted, confirmation that he has emotional power over her. After getting that reaction, he'll probably come back. He'll say something like, "I was confused, I don't know what happened to me, I can't live without you." And the manipulation cycle continues because now he knows exactly which buttons to push to control you emotionally. But here's what a woman who has developed her self-esteem, who has worked on her self-love, learns. When she receives a message like this, her reaction isn't panic but clarity. She thinks, if this person values me so little that they think they can break up with me through WhatsApp, then they don't deserve to be in my life. The correct response to this type of message is, again, to leave it on read. Don't give him the satisfaction of seeing you desperate. Don't confirm that his manipulation strategy works on you. And if he insists, if he writes to you again, you can respond with something like, "I see you cared so little that you decided that through messages. I'm not going to beg someone who doesn't deserve to be with me." That response makes it clear that you're not a woman who can be easily manipulated, that you understand your value, and that you're not going to tolerate being treated without respect. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. Have you ever received a message like this? A sudden breakup that felt like it came out of nowhere? And more importantly, how did you react? Did you panic? Did you try to fix it immediately? If you did, don't worry. You're not alone. This is one of the most common manipulation tactics, and even the smartest women fall for it. The important thing is that now you know what it is, and you'll never fall for it again. But here's what I want you to understand. These aren't isolated behaviors. They're part of a bigger pattern. And the third type of message I'm about to tell you might seem the most harmless of all, but it's actually the most revealing about someone's true intentions. Stay with me because this third one is crucial, and it's something that happens every single day in your messages. Sección 3. Third mensaje type. The third type of message you should never respond to might seem the most harmless of all, but it's actually very revealing of the level of effort someone is willing to invest in you. These are responses with just an emoji or a sticker. Imagine the situation. You write something meaningful, you tell him about your day, you share something that excited or worried you, and he responds with a thumbs-up emoji, or even worse, with a random sticker that has nothing to do with what you told him. For example, you write, "Today I had a very important meeting at work and I think it went very well. I'm excited because it could mean that promotion I've been working so hard for." And he responds with a smiley face emoji. Nothing more. At that moment, you have two options. You can respond with another emoji, trying to keep the conversation alive at all costs, asking him about his day, telling him something else to see if you get a real response, or you can recognize that this person is not willing to make the minimum effort to have a real conversation with you. When someone responds with just emojis, especially after you've made the effort to write something substantial, they're telling you something very clear without words. I'm not interested enough to formulate a real response, but I want to keep the door open just in case. It's a form of minimum effort communication that evaluates how much you're willing to invest in the conversation when he's not investing anything. It's a test to see if you'll accept crumbs of attention. Let me explain the psychology behind this. When someone responds to you with an emoji after you've shared something important, they're doing several things at the same time. First, they're acknowledging that they received your message so you can't say they completely ignored you. Second, they're making the minimum possible effort to keep communication open. And third, they're testing whether you'll settle for that low-effort response. A woman who knows her value understands that her emotional energy is precious. She's not going to waste it trying to sustain one-sided conversations with people who aren't willing to make the minimum effort to respond with real words. You know what's the difference between a woman who responds to these empty emojis and one who doesn't? The second has learned that her company, her conversation, her thoughts and feelings have value. She's not going to give them away in exchange for emojis that anyone can send in 2 seconds. But here's something I want you to understand very deeply. When you accept low-effort communication, you're not just allowing that specific person to treat you badly. You're establishing a pattern. You're teaching all the people in your life that your attention, your time, your emotional energy don't have much value. And this doesn't stay just in romantic relationships. It extends to all areas of your life. If you allow a man to respond to you with emojis when you've put effort into communicating, you'll also allow friends to cancel plans at the last minute, family members to disrespect you, co-workers to not recognize your contribution. That's why it's so important to establish clear boundaries from the beginning. It's not about being difficult or complicated. It's about teaching the people in your life how to treat you. When you receive an emoji as a response to something significant you wrote, the correct strategy is to treat it as the end of the conversation. Don't respond, don't try to revive the dialogue. Let the next initiative be his, and let it be with real effort. Now let me tell you what happened to Linda, the woman I mentioned at the beginning. Remember, she was 52 years old, divorced, and was accepting any kind of male attention. She would immediately respond to any message, no matter how generic. She tolerated behaviors that she would never have accepted in her professional life. She made excuses for men who clearly weren't putting real effort into getting to know her. For 2 years, she had a series of mediocre relationships with men who saw her as a convenient option, not as a priority. She felt frustrated, emotionally exhausted, and was starting to think that maybe at her age she didn't deserve something better. Then she decided to make a radical change. She started applying exactly the strategies I'm sharing with you today. She stopped responding to generic messages. She stopped tolerating low-effort communication. She stopped being available for men who didn't show real interest. At first, she effectively received less attention. Some men disappeared completely when they realized they couldn't handle her easily. But after a few months, something interesting started to happen. She began to attract a different type of man. Men who put real effort into their conversations, who made plans in advance, who treated her like a priority, not an option. And a year later, she met someone with whom she now has a stable and healthy relationship. The difference wasn't that she changed physically or became younger. The difference was that she changed the energy she projected. She started behaving like a woman who valued herself, and automatically attracted a man who also valued her. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but if I'm this selective, I'm going to end up alone. And let me be completely honest with you about this. It's possible that at first you'll have fewer conversations, less male attention, fewer apparent options. But here's what's really going to happen. You're going to automatically filter out all the men who aren't willing to make a real effort for you. You're going to eliminate from your life the manipulators, those who only seek easy validation, those who see you as one option among many. And you're going to create space in your life for men who really value you, who are willing to court you appropriately, who see your company as a privilege, not a right. Because the reality is this: it's better to be alone with your dignity intact than accompanied by someone who doesn't respect you. So let me give you some concrete steps you can implement starting today. First, make a list of all the ways you've accepted low-effort communication in the past. Not to judge yourself, but to recognize the patterns.
Second, clearly define what your minimum communication standards are.
What type of messages do you deserve to receive? What level of effort do you expect from people who want to be in your life? Third, practice responding to yourself with the same respect you demand from others. If you wouldn't talk to yourself with a generic hello, why accept that others do it? Fourth, Develop activities and relationships that nurture your self-esteem regardless of your relationship status. Cultivate deep friendships, pursue passions that excite you, work on projects that give you purpose. And fifth, constantly remember that your value as a woman doesn't depend on how much male attention you receive. Your value is intrinsic, it's part of who you are, and it cannot be increased or decreased by the actions of other people. Remember, this process of change is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong and confident, and others when you doubt yourself. There will be moments when you want to return to your previous patterns because they feel more familiar. All of this is normal. Personal growth is never a straight line upward. It's more like a staircase with steps forward and occasional setbacks. What's important is the general direction you're moving in. If this content has helped you, if you've recognized situations you've lived through, if you feel this can help other women who are going through the same thing, I invite you to share it. Comment on your experience. Tell me if you've ever received these types of messages and how you've handled them. Because here we're building a community of women who support each other, who share wisdom, who help each other grow and recognize their value. Women who no longer accept less than they deserve and who are willing to work on themselves to attract the authentic love that's really worth it. Your story, your experience, could be exactly what another woman needs to hear today to make the decision to value herself more. So don't hesitate to share, participate, be part of this movement of women who choose self-love over external validation. And remember, it's not about becoming perfect overnight. It's about committing to your growth, choosing every day to value yourself a little more, constantly deciding that you deserve respect, effort, and genuine love. That's the promise I can make to you today. Not that you're going to find perfect love overnight, but that you're going to become a woman who only accepts authentic, respectful, and reciprocal love. And that transformation is going to change your life in ways you can't even imagine right now. If you found this valuable, smash that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about the signs that a man is genuinely interested versus just playing games. Until then, remember your worth.